Johnny there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the official Gin Pros live stream. I'm here with SOBO. SOBO, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. Busy, buddy. Busy. I apologize for a little lack of communication, but we'll try and get a few things accomplished here regarding golf. And I just want everybody to be clear what I'm wearing right here. And if anybody knows why I'm wearing that Central Michigan shirt, feel free to chime right on in.
I'm sure we got some Western fans watching. They might not agree with that shirt too much, but we won't get into that.
You know what Central Michigan did, right?
What'd they do?
They beat Michigan for the regional finals in baseball.
Oh my goodness. That's gotta be big news. That's gotta be huge.
So how you guys been? All right?
Well, hey, fire up Chips. I've been good. How have you been? I know it's busy time right now. Everybody's busy, it seems like. But we're going to power through it, and that's how we got to do it. We got to keep rolling with the punches and do what we got to do day in and day out to get the job done. So glad we could have you on here to talk some golf with us. So this weekend we have the Palmetto Championships in South Carolina. I want to get your takes on that. Who do you have this weekend? But mostly we want to talk about the U.S. Open, and hopefully we can have you on the show next week to have a preview of the U.S. Open. But who have you been looking at recently? I know Phil Mickelson's big, Jon Rahm. You got Dustin Johnson in the mix too. There's a lot of guys that can be contenders, and there's some guys taking breaks. I know Phil's taking a break this weekend. Who are you looking at right now?
Well, next week I can tell you right now, I really like the California kids. Anybody that's from out there, that's played out there, I think it's going to bode well. I like DJ. I like Morikawa. Scotty Scheffler I think is going to be a good pick. There's a handful of guys out there that I think it's going to be all chalk in the Open. Torrey Pines is a great golf course, and I never got to get in on your British Open activity just because of the busyness. But let's not count Phil Mickelson out. He answered the bell in the British, and I know we couldn't talk a lot about that, but Jon Rahm, we'll have to see how he does coming back from this COVID incident on Sunday night, which was just a tearjerker for a lot of people. It's a shame it happened, and we'll see if he can rebound from it and come back next Tuesday and be able to participate. I just got to say that golf right now is in such good hands. I was telling you earlier, I was listening to the tour in the car all day, driving around. And that's one thing they're talking about is just how good the game of golf is. It's jumped, 200% on the amount of players out there. There's a lot of people following it. You saw the fans last weekend. It's really good right now. And for people who haven't played the game or followed the game, I think now's a good time to jump on in. People want to participate. They want to be outdoors. And I just think the Open is going to be a good Open out at Torrey Pines. And I will come back to you next week with some really good picks. I already gave you 3 or 4. I don't have any dark horses or anything. I haven't really looked into it. I actually got my first email on a pool, so I'll have to turn those picks in next week as well. But this weekend, like I told you, John, I really haven't paid much attention to it. I'm more concerned about the U.S. Open and what takes place out there.
Yeah, it's kind of the calm before the storm, having the Palmetto Championships this weekend, having the U.S. Open, and the Travelers is after that. So it's kind of they're scrunching a lot of tournaments right here within only a couple weeks now, or we're only almost a week out from the U.S. Open. So it's kind of a lot of pressure on everybody, especially people that are looking for picks, seeing how people are playing, because a lot of these guys are playing every weekend. So you got to count that. as part of, how much are they able to handle in a short amount of time, and whatnot. So, these guys are athletes. They're athletes, so they can handle it. But
Yeah,
how much
yeah.
can they handle, and when are they going to crumble?
So, the other thing I want to talk to you real quick about is, and I don't know if your viewers or anybody else out there, but you know what yesterday was? Yesterday is probably one of the other top favorite days in the golf world for people like me who are addicted to the game and love the game, and that's the longest day of golf. So, take a look at the internet right now and look at some of the guys who had to go qualify down in Columbus, Ohio, and Springfield, and all over the country. They play a 36-hole qualifier to get into the Open next week. And just for a little uh, piece of information, Ricky Fowler didn't get in, Keegan Bradley didn't get in, Jason Day didn't get in. There were some big names that just didn't qualify, and they had to go Monday qualify it. So I think that should really tell you what's going to take place over the course of the next 10 days out at Torrey Pines. These younger kids are coming out, that are playing in the NCAA championships, and they're moving forward, and they're going to go try and get their card. And I think it's exciting, and I think it's sad that some of these guys didn't make it, because we are so used to seeing these guys, the Ricky Fowlers and so forth, going into events and tearing it up. And I don't know what happened to him, but he fell apart. And Keegan Bradley's had a good year. I mean, I picked him in a couple other events through PGA Fantasy, and he didn't make it. And some of these young kids are making it. So that just goes to show you that the game of golf is about as competitive as I've ever seen it. And I think we're in pretty good shape. And, with Mickelson winning a couple of weeks ago, the PGA, I mean, that's huge. It's huge for the game of golf. And it's huge for the people that, like I grew up watching him. I'm a couple years older than Phil. I told you my age. That doesn't matter because, you look at a guy like Jordan Spieth or DJ or Morikawa or any of these younger guys that are participating. They grew up watching them. Read all the articles online or listen to the storylines on the Golf Channel or CBS or whoever you're covering the event.
Yeah, and these young guys, they're out there, they're coming out in groves, but having Phil win, and this is what I kind of iterated towards in my previous shows last week when he won the PGA, is you're never really too old to win and succeed in the game of golf. Yes, you'll get to that certain age where you can't hit it 300 yards anymore, but you can still always compete. You're already there? As long as you keep it in the fairway. I envy the older players that can hit it. Maybe they don't hit it, 275, 300 down the fairway, but they keep it in the fairway. They keep their range of where they miss is a lot smaller and narrower than mine. So there's something to be said about that, and there's a lot to be said about keeping the ball in the fairway.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, John, you brought up a great point. The schedule for the PGA Tour's changed over the course of the last 16 months because of COVID and everything else, and things have changed and fans have changed. And look at the landscape. 5 years ago, the majors were the majors. It was April, June, July, and August. And now it's, April, May, June, and July. And then they do the Tour Championship in September because the game of golf now is now a moneymaker for these guys. You alluded to their athletes. I mean, they work out from 6 a.m. to 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, depending on dark. 25, 30 years ago, Nicholas and those guys never did that. They were in the bar having a beer and a sandwich with their best friend. These guys leave their golf course and go right to the fitness trailer or go right to the range or go right home and work out with a trainer. Equipment's changed. Everything has changed the game, but I think it's changed it to the better. And they've jammed these tournaments, these majors in, bam, 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 and there's a lot of heavy duty travel. I don't know. Torrey will be interesting. It's a good golf course. We'll have to see what the weather looks like, and we'll go from there. We'll see if John Rahm's going to play. That's going to have a big impact on a lot of players and who's going to get in and things of that nature. So, it's just an interesting time and an interesting year this year. And, The other thing I kind of wanted to touch on with you is the Rocket Mortgage, man. If your viewers are into golf and you want to get a decent look, take a day off, run down to Detroit, man. Go down Thursday, Friday, watch everybody play. When I was a kid, I always wanted to go to the Thursday or Friday rounds because you knew everybody was going to be there. Going Saturday, Sunday up at the Buick Open was always fun. But, if Mickelson missed the cut or if somebody missed the cut, they were on an airplane out and you didn't get the opportunity to see them. So I kind of just wanted to say, look, you got the U.S. Open, then you got kind of like a week off, and then you're boom, right at the Rocket, and then boom, you got the John Deere, and then boom, you got the British. And, hell, then you're already into the middle of July, and people are talking about points for the race at the end of the year. So it's pretty good stuff, man. And I'm excited for the U.S. Open. I think it's going to be good, and I think there's going to be a lot of guys gunning. I mean, you can talk all you want about the sidebar storylines like Brooksy and Bryson and how they're like two little kids in a candy store fighting over the last piece of gum. All the minutia that's created. That's a lot of hype, and it's interesting. So, we'll see. And I'm just kind of looking at the picks here on my iPad, and DJ's a big favorite this week. So is Brooks, Tommy Fleetwood. Anybody can win down there. I don't know enough about the tournament. I know it's a huge charity event. I just heard on the radio on the way home that I think they've raised over $13 million in 20 years, which is unheard of. And that's one thing that the tour does very well at, is creating opportunity for charity events.
Yeah, and the surprising thing about that is both you and I participate in planning events that involve charity type scenarios that involve golf outings. So I think that's something that is very awesome, very cool, something I support very much. And golf, like you said, golf is really good at doing that. I know Jack Nicklaus has his own charity event too, and there's a lot of people that do stuff like that. So it's really cool, and I commend everybody that does that. Mama Bink with the comment, Sobo needs to be a regular on Gins. The only time I get to see him. It's the only time I get to see him too, Mama Bink. So yeah, he's a busy guy though, so he's hard to reach, hard to get him in a time slot. But hey, he's got a lot going on, especially his son Charlie is playing golf. So really exciting stuff. Golf is all around him, all around the family. It's really cool. So let me ask you this, Sobo, before I let you go. I have 2 picks for the U.S. Open. I picked Phil the Thrill, and I picked Francesco Molinari. Are you skeptical about those, or how do you feel about it?
No, I just told you. I told you. Let's not forget where Phil's from. He's from out there.
That's right.
I'm gonna tell you. I will say this. I'll go out on a limb right now, and I'll tell you that somebody from the West Coast is going to win that tournament. I've had that feeling for about the last 10 days, and I don't know what it is, but I just think it fits some of those guys, game. And, you're going to have to be long. You're going to have to play a little bit in the wind because it's right on the ocean. And, you're going to have a reasonable short game. And I don't know. We'll have to see. It'll be interesting, and with everything else, the travel and the COVID and the testing and John Rahm, I think that raised a lot of questions in terms of the tour and did they do the right thing? The scuttle on Twitter and Facebook and all the social media posts, I thought he handled it well. I think, there might be more to the story. I don't think there is. I think he knew he screwed up, and these guys are being tested, and I haven't really dug that much into it. I wanted to, I just haven't had time. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's really, not only do you have the golf situation too, John, is you got hockey going on right now. You got the basketball playoffs and other sports that are moving forward with their events and their, the Stanley Cup finals and things like that. And, I just think it's a good time of the year to be involved with sports. I'm not as big of an NBA fan as I used to be just because I don't follow it as much, but the hockey I really follow in April. And of course the golf I really follow. And, boom, we're going to be looking at something your mom and dad really like to do. And that's go up to Michigan State football games. and terrorize
Oh
Jeff
man.
Morgan, my next door neighbor.
Oh yeah, we got to get Mr. Morgan over there and kind of
We should
bust his
have
balls
him
a little
on. Why
bit
can't
about.
we get him on? We'll get him
Let's
and
get him
Paul
on.
in.
Let's get him on. Get him and Paul. I can get up to 8 people on here, but once you get past 4, it starts to become messy because everyone starts, chiming in and throwing their 2 cents in there, chirping each other. Especially we got people in different camps, the U of M camp and the Michigan State camp, where Mr. Morgan would get outnumbered in that scenario. But I'd give him a fair fight. We've had Michigan people on this show before. We give them a chance to say their piece, whatever it is, no matter how stupid it is. We'll let them say their piece, and then we'll kind of, bring some logic into the conversation, which is always helpful for everybody. But yeah, I think we should arrange something like that, especially, maybe even before the football season or even getting closer to the football season. I think we can have a show like that.
Thinking the same parallel I was, John. That's good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what'll partake next week. Like I said, I thought Mickelson winning a couple of weeks ago was fabulous. Good for him. And this U.S. Open is going to be a good Open, and I'll be glued to the set. What's good for us over here on the East Coast is they're going to be live coverage from probably 4 o'clock on. So those folks that are driving home at 5:30 or whatever, they're going to be able to tune in right at 6 and watch till 11. And I'm going to be one of those guys. And what's going on here real quick, I want to talk a little bit about this Corona Cup. Is that thing locked up? I got a text message from you saying I'm out.
I said you're out. You're not out. You better be there. You're in. You and Paulie are a team.
Hey, I got to tell you something. Pfeiffer lives in my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him riding his bicycle the other night. He says, Mr. Sobolewski, am I going to see you in 2 weeks? I said, not only are you going to see me, but I'm going to mop you up.
You got to keep him honest. He's still on his high horse, I'm sure, after winning the last Corona Cup. I'm sure you've seen the video on that we won it by a stroke against my cousin and Sam. It was a tight race, but the Corona Challenge is a completely different bear. With a lot of players and a lot more players than last year. We have 26 teams now instead of 18 or 19, whatever we had last year. And everything's getting set up with the course and finalizing everything. Right now we're getting whole sponsors. So
I saw
it's looking like a great event.
That's awesome. And I think I can help you. I know you shot me a text. I'm going to look into that tomorrow. So, what you guys are doing, and it kind of goes back into what we're talking about. The other portion of the situation that is in my hands right now is the Big Brothers Big Sisters golf outing on the 24th and 25th this month. I'm sure you've seen me throwing a lot out on that, and it's a lot of work to grow an outing. And I think what you guys are doing downtown Flushing with Mrs. Bink and everything, I think that is probably one of the greatest things you could do with the game of golf, is to be able to create some funding and help some people out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the best thing to do is when you have, a game and a sport you love, to bring it together, bring a lot of people together, especially for a great cause. I think it just makes it all the better. Makes it more enjoyable. You get more people to come in. It's a great experience for everybody. So I commend you too for doing that, because that can't be an easy task. I know the Big Brothers Big Sisters is a pretty big organization. So you're doing a great thing too.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, look, I got somebody here, and I got to run with you guys. I apologize. I'd like to hang out for a little longer, but I can't. Just tee it high and let it fly. Enjoy the Open. Enjoy this weekend, and I'll definitely John, you touch base with me, and we'll do something next week, and I'll have some stable picks on Tuesday or Wednesday night for you.
Will do. We'll be in touch very soon, Sobo. Thanks again for joining us.
All right, guys. Be good.
See you, Sobo. Wow, that was pretty impressive stuff. He was on a time crunch, so I'm glad we could have Sobo on the show tonight. Got a couple comments here. Got one from Jethro. Out? No way. Sobo for the full 18. Now, there's some controversy around this whole topic. Last year, Sobo only made it for the first 9. He played with Paulie. So I don't know how Jethro is so invested with that. I don't know if he, knows Paulie or knows Sobo, but Sobo only played for the first 9. Then Big Money Manerick played the back 9. Whether or not that was a factor in how that twosome placed is a different issue. I can't answer that for you. I have to talk to Paulie himself or SOBO about that. Even Moneric. There is like a 3-man team. They tag teamed the front 9, the back 9. SOBO had a previous thing he had to do, so no harm, no foul there, but it might have affected him. This year he's in for the full 18, so it could be a completely different story. We'll see what happens come the 19th. That's another thing, though. I didn't really think about that too much, but if you think about it, the U.S. Open falls right on that weekend of the Corona Challenge. When I was planning it, I had no idea that that was the case. We got to about probably a couple months out. I'm looking forward at all the majors, for PGA, and sure enough, on the 19th, that's the Saturday before the Sunday. That is the day before the last day of the U.S. Open. So kind of a big deal. Could be a controversial thing. Hopefully, people don't know about that. Either way, they're all registered. They all better be there. The Corona Challenge is equivalent to the U.S. Open in a certain aspect, in a certain light. So not to be undermined at all. There's plenty of the Open left. At least it's not on a Sunday, so you can watch that final round coverage. But yeah, alluding to what SOBO said, it is on the West Coast, so we'll be able to watch that live coverage of the U.S. Open later in the day. So chances are we'll see a lot of that Saturday round anyway, even after the Corona Challenge is completed. So it's not like it's starting bright and early in the morning on the East Coast or even in the middle of the country, Central Time Zone. It's happening on the West Coast. So big difference there. There's 3-hour difference there, so shouldn't be an issue. Looking at the Palmetto champs, let's talk about the Palmetto champs this weekend. So we're looking at a couple of players. Obviously had the John Rahm snafu last weekend. I was at an open house. I was talking to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Stead. He informed me that John Rahm was pulled off the 18th green, given a mask, being told that he has tested positive for COVID-19 and that he must be escorted, he must DQ or withdraw from the tournament, which is absolutely heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine being in that position, being 6 strokes ahead, leading by 6 strokes, and on a Saturday too, almost going into Sunday, leaving the course and pretty much finishing out the 18th hole with a 6-stroke advantage. I mean, come on, is there a bigger kick in the shorts than that? I don't really know. I really can't answer that, but I really don't think so. I really don't think so, especially in the game of golf. Mid-tournament, live TV, being pulled off the 18th green, given a mask, being told to put the mask on, and then having to leave the tournament and withdraw from it. So heartbreaking stuff. Heartbreaking stuff. Let's look at the Palmetto champs. There's a lot of expert picks that are being made from the PGAtour.com website. There's fantasy insiders, there's fantasy contributors, there's senior editors, there's staff writers all over the place informing the people and giving their 2 cents on this tournament. So let's kind of take a look here. Looks like Rob Bolton, a fantasy insider, is looking at Ian Poulter. He says, although this concludes segment 3, whatever segment 3 is, it's no less nerve-wracking to learn on 5 guys. Glover is the exclusion, who could be looking ahead at next week's U.S. Open. However, as the front runner, Chalk will play on a new course. So he's looking at Ian Poulter, hasn't had a win in probably 100 years. He has the potential. A lot of these guys have the potential to win. Like I said, Francesco Molinari has that luster about him. He has the Italian, flaming athleticism. I think he has what it takes. I really do. And I think that he's going to be a front runner for the U.S. Open. Now, these guys are talking about the Palmetto champs at Congaree. We're looking at a lot of different players, a lot of different, people that are coming. Obviously, you're going to have your Brooksies, you're going to have your DJs, you're going to have your Snedeker. What? Brant Snedeker? So Jason Sobel of the Action Network and Golf Bet. So that means he's a golf bettor, a golf handicapper, whatever you want to call it. Brant Snedeker. He says 9-time PGA Tour winner is starting to round into form and should enjoy the challenge of a tough venue. I don't know if that tells me why he's going to win, but obviously never count Brant Snedeker out. So he's what I would call a mid-tier level player. So he's a player that can contend at the highest level, can come out and play and even win at tournaments, but doesn't really place too many top 10s, at least looking back. So Uncle John with the comment, Koepka and Spieth are your picks. Speak more to that. I know Spieth has what it takes. He won not too long ago. Koepka won not too long ago either. He was tailing Mickelson in the final round of the PGA Championship. So I know he has what it takes. That injury is going to be affecting him a little bit, but it looks like from what these insiders and editors are saying is that he's on the back nine, no pun intended, of his injury. So it looks like he's recovering well. If I was him, I would take at least a week off. I probably wouldn't be playing in the Palmetto Chance if I'm Brooks Koepka. Okay, obviously I'm going to play in the majors. I'm going to play in the PGA Championship. I'm going to play in the U.S. Open. I'm going to play in the British. But other than that, I'm probably going to sit out for the Travelers. I'll probably sit out for the John Deere, and I'm just going to kind of ice whatever I have to kind of get myself in the right mindset to, okay, now I'm ready to play, and two, physically, I'm physically ready and able to play at the highest level to my highest ability. So a lot of stuff that needs to be considered there. So let's look at some tee times right now for the Palmetto Championship at Congaree. Something I really like to focus on here, and that we don't do it enough. We do it quite a bit, but we don't do it enough, is focus on these golf tournaments. And I know we got to do it more, and we will. So let's look at the 7 a.m. tee time. These are obviously the guys that are getting up bright and early. If they're coming from the East Coast, they're getting up even earlier, because this is 7 a.m. Actually, no, excuse me, I had that wrong. 7 a.m. This is on the East Coast. They're still in Eastern time zone. If you're on the West Coast, you get to sleep in a little bit. So I kind of learned that entire time change by going to Vegas and coming back. It's a lot easier going there than coming back, let me just tell you. So 7 a.m., Scott Brown, Robert Garrigus, Bo Hogue. Tee off. Oh, you got these guys shotgun starting off of the different nines. So one guy's teeing off one, and then right at that same moment, there's a threesome teeing off hole 10. So hole 10 got Jonas Blix, Ricky Barnes, and Bo Hostler. So that's the first one. Let's see when we can get some big names in here. Let's see if we got some major leaguers. Looks like nobody's really teeing off too early that has that many accolades or credibility. So a lot of these guys, these are 9 o'clock, 9:12 now, 12:15. They take a break there. There's a 3-hour window where it allows, because you think about it, this has got to be a bitch to kind of figure out the tees, because you got people going off 1, you got people going off 10. At a certain point, these guys are going to lap each other, and there's going to be a cluster of threesomes. So you got to kind of figure it out. That's why they have that 3-hour window in there. It makes a lot of sense. So at 12:15, you got Camilo Villegas, Luke List, and Sepp Straka, Tom Lewis, Mark Hubbard, and Sam Ryder. Let's see if we can get into some McIlroys or some Jordan Spieths. So 12:48, you got Tyrell Hatton, Ian Poulter, and Matt Fitzpatrick. That's a pretty good threesome. I like that grouping. We'll be watching that one. Then at 12:59 is when we see Brooks Koepka, Keith Mitchell, and Lucas Glover. Now, the Palmetto Championships, you got to think about it. It's kind of an auxiliary tournament that's sandwiched in between the PGA Championship and the U.S. Open, kind of sandwiched in there. So it's going to have a variety of players in both playing style and ability. So we got to consider all that stuff. I haven't really looked at the field enough. I got to look at a flat leaderboard. There's a nice website on here that gives the pictures and gives everything for the players, but I got to look at a leaderboard. I got to see who's doing good, who's playing well. But the crazy thing about golf, especially when you're betting it, is you have no idea who's going to play well between 1 week and the next. So if you're betting, whoever bet Phil Mickelson, there was a bet slip that I saw. Someone bet Phil Mickelson in the PGA Championship, won a ridiculous amount of money. And how could you call that? I mean, he hasn't placed top 10 in more than 2 years. So with having those kind of statistics, how are you going to be able to gauge that? How are you going to make that call? So betting golf is very, very difficult. I would put it up there with betting horses. Shout out to Pfeiffer for that. He's a big horse bettor, the biggest horse bettor in Gin Pros. That gives us all the horse betting insight for the Kentucky Derby and plenty of other horse races. I notice in Vegas that there's a ton of horse races that go on all the time. I knew that before that, but I didn't think it was that big in Vegas. They have all the horses and all the locations on a separate section. Their own section of the TV screen is dedicated to horse betting. So I won't get too much into it right now. We're looking forward to the Palmetto Championships at Congaree. They tee off tomorrow at 7 a.m. Western time, West Coast time. So it's going to start a little bit later. Why am I saying that? This isn't the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open starts at the West Coast. These guys start at 7 a.m. East Coast. So look forward to the Palmetto Championships. Look at these golfers, see how they play this week, see how they fare, and take this course on in South Carolina. And that might give you somewhat of a precursor on how they're playing. But when you go to Torrey Pines, completely different side of the country, you're dealing with a completely different beast. So we'll see how they fare it. But I'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Official Gin Pros live stream. I'm your host, as always, John Jitt II. Have a great night.